My mom delivered my son.
I've been waiting all night.
Hi guys, hi. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. It's a miracle I can actually sit here and do this video because Micah has not allowed me for the last couple of days that I have been wanting to sit down and do this video. That boy has not let me rest. But anywho, I'm taking out about 15-20 minutes right now just to sit down and finally tell you guys my birth story. In the meantime, thank you guys so much for all the love on the birth vlog. I see all your love, I see all your comments. It's a lot of comments at this point. I'm not sure if we're up to 1,000 comments, but guys, you people know I can't reply everybody. I have been trying to do a mental calculation of how I'm going to start replying every single comment, and it's not even possible, but I will reply those I can reply. And just know that I see every single comment, and thank you so much for all the love. Thank you so much for all the prayers. Thank you so much for all your care. Like you guys are even more overjoyed and more overwhelmed than I am, and it warms my heart so much. We are so grateful for all the love. Thank you guys so flipping much. Okay, so where do I begin this story? Where do I begin this gist? You guys would have seen obviously a bit of it in the birth vlog, but like I told you guys in the vlog, there is so much that the camera did not capture. There's so much that happened that my camera was switched off because ain't nobody thinking about camera, ain't nobody thinking about anything like that. Okay, so I'm just going to go right to the very beginning, and I'm going to try and be as very detailed as possible because you guys know that when I'm telling stories, I love to be detailed as possible. And if you don't like gore, if you don't like deep birth stories, or if you don't like, because I like to be very detailed, okay? So if you don't like all of those things, just click out of this video. But yeah, I'm gonna try to be as detailed as possible, and let's get right into this. Okay, so like I said earlier on in other videos, my due date was April 25th, and I went in for an induction because a day before at the hospital when I went for my appointment, my doctor informed me that my amniotic fluid was drying up and it did not make sense to keep the baby in there longer than necessary. So he would advise that I just come in the following day since it was my due date anyways, and you know, get induced and get the baby out. And though it was a bit sudden for me, to be honest, I'm just like, you know what, I'm even over it. Like, let this boy even do and come out, let me rest, right? So April 25th, you guys would have seen that in the vlog, I checked into the hospital to get induced. We were asked to check in around 3 p.m. and we got there roughly between 3 and 3:30 p.m. But you guys would have seen in the birth vlog as well, they had to run a non-stress test on the baby just to be sure that he was okay and ready for an induction, because obviously an induction is literally you forcing the baby to come out, all right, without natural labor kicking in. With Mia, I didn't get induced. With Mia, I went into labor naturally on the day I turned 41 weeks, and I was already informed that if I hadn't gone into labor by that particular day, I was coming for an induction. But thankfully Mia, you know, decided to come out on her own. But in this case, I was 40 weeks, and you know, with all the circumstances and everything, you know, it was advised that I just come in and get induced. And yeah, prior to this, I had heard that, you know, inductions can be more painful than, you know, normal labor, and I expressed his concerns to my doctor, but he was like, whether it's natural labor, whether it's induced labor, it's still gonna hurt, okay? So just come in and let's get this thing done. I got in there, they did the neonatal non-stress test on the baby. In fact, the very first time they ran that test, they didn't get the accurate readings that they wanted, so they had to take me down to the delivery room, I think, and do the non-stress test again. I didn't vlog that part before they got an accurate reading, and I was sent back to my, you know, my normal room, right? So fast forward to 12 midnight, my mom and Jesse were with me. You guys would have seen they slept over, you know, at the hospital with me because nobody knew how this induction was going to go, and I said, see, I need 2 of you here, okay? Nobody should leave this place. At 12 midnight, the nurse came and inserted the drug vaginally to induce labor, and I think I still slept from like midnight till like 3:30 a.m. when the contractions woke me up from sleep. Obviously, if you've been through this, you know how that feels, right? The contractions woke me up at 3:30 to 4 a.m. basically. And obviously with the groaning, and the pains, my mom woke up. Jesse, who was sleeping in the reception because there was no more space in the room for him, came in and saw me, and he was like, oh, it has started. So they were with me, throughout and everything. Obviously the contractions began mildly, from mild to medium to, and then between that 4 a.m. ish and 6 a.m., I don't think anybody came to check on me until 6, because normally they will allow the drug to kick in between 6 to 8 hours, right? So they gave me the lowest dose of that drug, right? They gave me the lowest 25 milligrams of that drug, and they said if after 6 to 8 hours labor has still not commenced, they would give me another 25 milligrams, right? But obviously 3 hours after, I started having contractions. So fast forward to about past 6 a.m., the same nurse who, induced me came in to check me, and she first of all, guys, let's talk about this checking of the cervix thing to check how dilated you are. With Mia, I remember vividly how it felt, but maybe because I was induced, the checking thing, the pain was more than I remember. Like, it was a lot, and she spent a lot of time checking because, I don't know, like a lot of time checking. That checking thing, you people, nobody prepares you enough. It doesn't matter how many times you have gone through it. The pain always feels fresh. The discomfort always feels very fresh. She kept going in there, and she's like, she's so sorry that she can't see my cervix, and my cervix hasn't descended yet, according to her, at past 6 a.m. So when she saw that I was in a lot of pain, she had to just stop trying to check and said, okay, you know what, let me give you 1 hour and I will come back, with somebody else so that we can check this again. So she left, and all this while, contractions were progressing. All this while they were getting more intense. All this while they were getting more painful, and everything. And at past 7 a.m., when she came back with a doctor to come and check me, at that time, I was going through a lot of pain. Like, I was in so much pain that my husband was like, you know what, we have to get this epidural because you were not in this much pain this early when you were pregnant with me, Rose. I was in a lot. When I mean a lot, I was in a lot of pain. When they came in at past 7 a.m. to check me, the doctor was like, ma'am, I know this is going to be painful, discomforting for you, but please, we really need to know how far you have gone. Can you just endure so that we can check you? And I said, okay, fine. And that checking was the pain was greater than the one that happened an hour before. It was so painful, and it was so discomforting. Like, I literally was almost screaming. I had to hold Jesse's hand because at that particular time, I think my mom had gone home. Mom still left around 6:30. She went home to have her bath, freshen up and all of that. So I think it was Jesse that was with me around that time when they had to come and do the second check. And it was very painful, you guys. It was, look, I can't talk about it right now and be laughing, but it was painful. Like, I was literally screaming. I won't even lie. When he checked, and then he said, okay, 2 centimeters. I'm like, 2 centimeters? He said, yes, 2 centimeters can stretch to 3 centimeters. And I'm like, when I was pregnant with Mia Rose, when I was in labor with Mia Rose, at 2 cm, I was laboring at home, chilling. Like, I was in pain, right? But it wasn't like this. How am I at 2 cm and it is this painful? The contractions are coming back to back. At that point, I was no longer catching breaks. It was coming back to back and lasting longer, and it was so intense and it was so strong. Like, my bed was very close to the wall. It's a miracle that I didn't break the wall, because every time a contraction hit from that 7:30 to 8 a.m. ish, I was banging on that wall with my fists. It's a miracle I didn't injure my fists, and it's a miracle that I did not break that wall, because the pain, it wasn't entering brain. In fact, this one's not even longer brain safe. It was just a lot, you guys. So when they told me that I was 2 centimeters, I'm just like, how? Because I'm in so much pain. How am I only 2 centimeters? My husband was like, how are you only 2 centimeters? The pain is a lot. At that point, he was like, look, if you're only 2 centimeters, we have to get you this epidural, because I can't imagine you have to go through this pain until you get to 10 cm, and the pain is only going to get worse, and even me, who obviously didn't use an epidural with me, Rose, I was considering it, right? I was literally telling him, yeah, I think we have to, because this pain, so we're literally considering it. They now told us that, okay, that even if they're going to administer an epidural, I would have to get to 4 centimeters first. Obviously, I think from 4 centimeters, you are considered to be in active labor. And in my head, I'm just like, you mean to tell me that this pain I'm feeling is not active labor? Hey, Jesus. You mean to tell me that this pain I'm feeling like I'm about to born now is not active labor? Like, it was crazy. So they told me they would come in and check. My next check was in 4 hours. This was past 7 a.m. you guys. They told me that my next check was at 11 a.m. And in my head, I was wondering how I was going to survive that pain for the next 4 hours until they come and check me again. They told me, it was so discomforting for me, the whole check-in process. They didn't want to put me through the hourly checks. So they would just come in about 4 hours when they are probably sure that I have dilated enough, before they put me through that pain of checking, which completely I understood, to be honest. But one part of me was like, this pain is progressing. Like, this thing is getting really, really intense and really, really painful. I don't know how I'm going to survive this pain, So they left, and I was left with Jessie. My mom came back at about 8:30 a.m. ish, and she came back and she met me in that pain, and she was like, what is going on? So between her and between Jessie, they would take turns to rub my back, to pacify me. It was a lot. Like you guys would have seen in the video, I think the last clip you guys saw was at past 8 a.m. because after that past 8 a.m., I could no longer operate camera. I could no longer do anything. I could no longer even monitor my contractions anymore. I was just written in pain, like the pain. So at that point, we're hoping that my own doctor would come in and check me, but we hadn't seen him that morning yet. He hadn't come into the hospital that morning yet. So we're hoping that when he comes, we will talk to him about the epidural, so they can bring it and administer it and all of that, but he didn't come as early as we thought he was going to come. Meanwhile, throughout this time of having these contractions, I would always feel like I want to pee. I would go into the restroom and I would actually pee, come out, continue the contractions. It was like a whole process, a whole cycle, So fast forward to about 10 a.m. or so, Jessie was like, my doctor has not come. We'll let him quickly rush home and go and have his bath, freshen up, and he'll be right back and everything. Maybe by the time he comes back, my doctor would have come around, So Jessie left. Less than 5 minutes after Jessie left the room, my doctor walked in. Obviously, he had been briefed by the nurses or those who had checked me earlier on. So from the door, he was already saying, Alma, are you really in that much pain? And I said, doctor, you don't know what is happening to me. And he just smiled. He has this calming smile, so he just smiled at me. He said hi to my mom. I was meeting my mom for the first time, so they exchanged pleasantries, and he felt my belly while I was having the contractions, and he was like, wow, that's a very, very strong contraction. So obviously he already knew the kind of pain I was in, and he said, okay, if you are really, really, really in that much pain, I'm going upstairs for a C-section. I'm going to have the anesthesiologist come down and prep you for an epidural. And I told him, okay, because at that point I had resigned myself. At that point, I'm like, no, I don't think anybody can survive this particular type of pain. Like in my head, I'm like, no. He said he was going to let the person know and the person will come down. But at the same time, he wasn't sounding as urgent as I wanted him to sound, because for me, this was a matter of urgency. This was like, if I don't get this epidural now, I might pass out from this pain. That's how my body was feeling, at that point. But he wasn't sounding as urgent, the way I was expecting him to sound, right? So he left the room, and, I was still there with my mom and everything. And, just like I was peeing every other 20 minutes, I told my mom that I wanted to pee. So she tried to help me up from the bed. I removed my undies, my shorts. I was wearing you guys would have seen me, I was wearing this pink PJs, shorts and a top, PJs. So I took off my undies, took off my shorts, and she tried to help me into the toilet. I sat down. While I was peeing, I was contracting, I was in pain, but while I was peeing, I felt this gush, right? And in my head, I'm like, is that my water? did my water just break? So I quickly finished peeing, and then I looked at the toilet, but it was looking more like urine to me. So I'm like, okay, it's urine, and right at that moment, right at that instant, I felt the most painful, you guys, I don't want to cry in this video because I legit thought I was going to pass out the next minute. Like, I felt the most painful contraction, like the most painful pain, and I felt my legs give way right at the door of the toilet. My mom caught me just in time before I fell to the ground. Like, she caught me, and I told her, "Mommy, help me, help me." I literally felt like I was dying. Like, I felt like I was dying. I said, "Mommy, help me." And she said, okay, just try and stand. And, she was trying to help me wear my undies, wear my shorts back. I'm like, "Mommy, I can't wear it. I can't. I don't even know how I flung my undies and my shorts. I flung it into one corner. I'm like, I can't. So she just tried to help me up, and then help me up to the bed, and then she put me on the side, and she, at that point, you guys would have seen her, earlier on in the earlier clips, but, she was praying her rosary, and it was later on that she told me that she was praying that this thing was as swift as possible, because the pain, she could see it. It was draining me. It was draining me completely, So about 5 minutes after, she laid me on that bed, and I was banging on the wall from all of that pain, banging on the wall. I felt the urgent need to poo. And you guys know, if you're in labor and you feel the need to poo, it's about to happen, okay? I felt the urgent need to poo, and I told my mom, "Mommy, I want to push. I feel like," and she said, no, you cannot push, Mama, you're going to injure yourself. I said, "Mommy, it's not me. My body is just pushing. I can't help it." And she got up, she ran to the door, to the hallway, and she screamed for the nurse. She said she wants to push, The nurse came running in. That was the only nurse that was on my floor at the time. There was an emergency C-section going on upstairs, so majority of the doctors and the nurses were there. I had only one nurse on my floor at the time, because obviously, past 7 a.m. I was 2 centimeters. Under normal circumstances, nobody would expect that I progress that quickly before my next check. Does that make any sense? So obviously, there was only one nurse, assigned to me that was on my floor. And she came in, she said, "Oh, madam, sorry, it's still the contractions." I'm like, no, I'm telling you that I want to push. It's not contractions. They were trying to close my legs. She and my mom were trying to close my legs so I don't push. And there I was, feeling the need to open my legs and push. My mom was begging me, "Mama, please don't push. You're going to injure yourself. You're going to hurt yourself." I said, "Mommy, I cannot. Mommy, I cannot." And as I was saying, "Mommy, I cannot," before I knew what was happening, water everywhere. My entire bed was soaked. Water everywhere. My mom was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And then she ran. She told the nurse to come, that "I've messed up everywhere." In her words, I remember, she said she has messed everywhere up. And in that instance, I had like a millisecond relief, and I had a chance to ask my mom, "What was that?" And she's like, "It's your water. It's greenish. It's your water. It's greenish, So the nurse, she ran in. She saw that. She was like, okay, let me run down and get the wheelchair so that we can wheel her to the delivery room." She was so confused because she was not prepared. That was not a delivery floor. There was nothing there to aid delivery of any kind. So she was like, "Let her go and get the wheelchair so they can wheel me to the delivery room." So she ran off. My mom was shuttling in between, running to the hallway to shout, running back to my side. And at every point she ran to the hallway, I would scream, "Mommy!" And I would call his name. "Chukwuelofuhom is coming." You guys would have seen this name. My mom gave him that name. You guys know Momsi always does it best, okay? And I was like, "Mommy, Chukwuelofuhom is coming." And she ran to me. She said, "Mama, please don't push. I'm like, "Mommy, I can't can't hold it. I don't know what's happening. And in that instant, the next thing, I felt that urge to push my body. In fact, it wasn't even the urge. My body was just pushing. Okay, and that push, and the next thing, my mom saw his head. She said, oh my god, his head. She ran again for the nurse. The nurse was coming in with the wheelchair, trying to set up the wheelchair. My son's head was coming out. And the next second, before I knew what was happening, my son's head came out, and I shouted, I screamed, and his body. My mom literally ran, placed her hands, and he fell right in my mom's hands. Yes. He fell right in my mom's hands. The nurse was like this. She was shook because that just doesn't happen, okay? It was the rarest thing ever. Like, she was dazed, you know? My son fell right in my mom's hands, and in that moment, all I could feel at that moment was the relief that pain was over. Like, I was basking in the relief before I actually realized that my son was out. I was like, it's over. And my mom held him, placed him on my chest, and was just welcoming him in Asaba. No, oh, welcome. She was just touching his head, and then my son began to cry. Like, he legit began to cry immediately he came out. He was on my chest. My mom was like, where are the nurses? Where are the doctors? It took about 3-4 minutes before we heard the footsteps of people that were running from wherever. The doctor, the nurses behind him, they were running kitty into my room, and they burst into my room like this. The doctor who had checked me at past 7 a.m., he ran to me and he was like, oh wow, madam, okay, you've done very well. And I looked at him like this, you've done very well. And then he looked at the clock, it was like time, and we were like, nope, this boy didn't just come out now. At that time, it was 10:45 a.m. So they had to backdate my son's birth to 10:40 a.m. And he came with like 2 nurses. At that point, they came with all of their gadgets and equipments, you know. They cut the umbilical cord at that point, and immediately at that point they had to whisk him away because obviously I didn't have a guided delivery. My mom literally delivered my son. Like, it was the most unexpected thing. If anybody had told me that was how I would give birth, I would be like, hell no. But that was exactly what happened, you guys. They cut the umbilical cord. Whew. At that point, they began to deliver the placenta that came out without any issues, you know, and my mom stepped aside. She took her phone, called my husband, and said, Jesse, congratulations, Micah is out. And Jesse was like, how? What? I just left you people 15 minutes ago. He was literally about to enter the bathroom when my mom's call came in. And at that point, he later told me that he didn't even know whether to go into the bathroom and have his bath, whether to get into the car and start coming immediately. He didn't know what to do at that point, but immediately he ran into the bathroom. He took the quickest shower he has ever taken in his entire life and ran out of the door. That's exactly what he told me. They delivered the placenta, and obviously it wasn't a guided delivery. With me, I had a proper episiotomy. I was cut, you know, for the baby to come out. In this case, I wasn't cut. I feel like if I had a guided delivery, I wouldn't have had to be cut because it wasn't my first delivery and I wouldn't have torn. But because of the circumstances, I tore. Though it wasn't a bad tear, it wasn't like a 3rd-degree tear or anything. It was more like a 2nd-degree tear. They had to start prepping me up for suturing. So they were trying to, you guys, nobody prepares you for the second part of a vaginal birth, which is the stitches, the suturing, the aftercare is a lot. That's another pain on its own. Imagine having a sore vajayjay and having them keep going in there, having them keep like, So right there on that bed with all of the gore, all of the water, blood, everything, they had to begin to inject me there to prep me up for stitches. And after they were done giving me the medication down there, do you guys know what it feels like for them to inject you there? Hey, Jesus. Nobody prepares you for that. So when they were done, they lifted me up, they placed me on the wheelchair. And I will never forget, obviously they would pad up the wheelchair because Amy just gave birth. There's a lot of bleeding. Your blood is literally gushing out like tap, like multiple taps are open at the same time. So I will never forget how they lifted me up, and I was so worried about how I was gushing. And the doctor kept trying to tell me, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's normal. It's fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it. But in my head, I'm like, why is it gushing like that? It was gushing. Then they put me on the wheelchair and I felt this gush of whatever, of everything that comes with childbirth, blood, everything. And he kept telling me, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry about it. And then he wheeled me himself, the nurses following behind, my mom following behind. And we got to the elevator, and right there and then we jammed Jesse, who had just got into the hospital, and he was looking at me in disbelief. Like his face was like this. And I'm like, babe, I dey come. Make I go. I dey go. And he was like, what? So they wheeled me down, took the elevator down to the first floor, to the delivery room, and they set me up. When they put your legs up like this for suturing, you know that it's about to get down. And, you know, the next thing, my doctor walked in from the C-section, and from the door, he was like, Alma, what happened? And I'm like, doctor, you've seen it now. You guys thought that my own case was like every other person's case, but he was looking at me in complete disbelief. And then he sat down, he looked at me, and he now told me what happened to me. He told me I had an accelerated labor, otherwise known as a precipitous labor, where your labor progresses 2-3 times faster than normal. That was what happened to me, basically, in a nutshell. That is exactly what happened to me. And they set me up for suturing and all of that. Nobody prepares you for when they insert that metal clamp into your body from down there. I told you guys that it's going to be a very detailed video. I'm trying not to leave out any details so you guys will get the real picture. Nobody prepares you for that metal clamp. I hate that thing so much. Nobody prepares you because that area is already so sore. So much has happened. In my case, it was torn. And obviously the time between when they wheeled me down from my room, the one they had given me down there had started to wear off. So they had to start giving me a fresh dose of that injection to numb that area and get it ready for suturing and all of that. In the middle of all of that, obviously still making sure that I was not bleeding from anywhere else. So they would have to go in there, check the cervix to make sure that there was no tear. All the while, I had a nurse on my side who was giving me different medications, literally drugging me up. I was given oxytocin to help with the bleeding. I had an IV line inserted. I was given I don't even know, multiple injections on my thighs, you know, obviously some for infection, because you guys, the circumstances surrounding the birth of my son, it was not in the proper delivery room. So they had to take, you know, aftercare precaution. She gave me 2 on this thigh, 1 on this thigh. They had put oxytocin into my IV line. They had given me 1 via injection. It was a lot, but nothing compared to the pain I felt delivering this boy, right? And at every point in time, they would always tell me what they're doing. Okay, we're giving you this now for this. We're doing this now for this, which I absolutely loved. The aftercare was lovely. The aftercare was very detailed, very precise, making up for what they couldn't do with regards to the delivery, because you guys, they were caught unawares. They didn't see it coming. They didn't see it happening. They were just going by their normal labor and delivery that everybody comes there to do every other day. In their heads, they would have checked me at 11 a.m. and if I was good to go, they would have wheeled me to the delivery room, gotten me ready for delivery and all of that. So what happened to me was completely unexpected by me, by the doctors, by the entire hospital. Nobody saw it coming. Everybody was in shock for days. The news had gone around the entire hospital. There's this woman that her labor was so fast that she actually delivered in her room. The news had spread like wildfire. It was the most shocking thing. I recall that my husband even told me that when he saw my doctor, the first thing my doctor told him when he saw him was everything just blew up in our faces. Literally, in his words. It was just a lot. But there was a lot of apology as well, because for them it's that shouldn't have happened. You know, there should have been somebody to still check me, even though my check was, I gave birth like, call it about 20 minutes before my next check. You know, I feel like if my doctor had checked me at that past 10 a.m. when he came, if he had told me, Alma, just endure, just try, let me check you myself. If he had checked me at that past 10 a.m., he would have known I was ready to give birth, and he would have given the word for me to be moved immediately to the delivery room. But he didn't check me. Instead, he said epidural, and then your next check is by 11. So they were going by their normal procedure, but Alma didn't come there to do the normal procedure, okay? Alma came there to stand out. God already had a plan about how this whole entire process was going to go, so that when it happened, only him would take the glory. Nobody would say, oh, it's because of the hospital, oh, it's because of the doctor, oh, it's because of... So that everybody will know that that is exactly how God wanted it to be. We had prayed for swift delivery from the onset of this pregnancy. That was the prayer. That was our prayer point, because with Mia, I labored for 22 hours. I had begged God, please make it swift for me this time around. God actually answered, just not in the way we were expecting, but he actually did give me that swift, fast delivery. Anywho, they spent an hour 30 minutes on me. At some point, you know, the medication they were putting down there was not working for me. I was still feeling the pain, so I was about to scream. They had to administer some sort of regional anesthesia so that it will completely numb me. So when they gave me that medication, I remember the nurse told me, you're going to start feeling sleepy, and that's okay. If you want to sleep, that's fine. I had my mom next to me, holding my hand. As always, they didn't allow Jessie in, only one person, so my mom was with me. And at that time, Jessie had gone to the NICU to go and see Micah, because Micah did not have the immediate delivery care, you know, all of that suctioning from the nose, the mouth. He swallowed fluid upon delivery, so he had to be whisked off to the NICU, you know, placed on IV antibiotics because of infection, because my water had meconium in it. That's why my water was greenish. It had meconium in it, so he had meconium all over him. All of those things can lead to infection, lead to jaundice, all of that. So he needed immediate attention. So Jessie was with him in the NICU while I was, you know, in the living room with my mom, going through what I was going through. I started feeling groggy at some point, started feeling sleepy. In fact, I think I even dozed off at some point in the delivery room. And after they were done, they wheeled me back to my room. You guys should have seen that in the birth vlog. They had cleaned up my room by the time I got there. I didn't recognize my room again. It was in my head. I'm just like, this is the same room that all of this went down, because they had cleaned it up nicely. And you guys would have seen me in that video, just so groggy, so drowsy from all of the medication and everything in my bloodstream, you know. I spent the rest of that day in and out of sleep, groggy, very, very groggy. Like, I would literally open my eyes, talk to my mom for like a second, and doze right back off. You know, I was hearing everything going on in my room. Mamusi was making different calls, Jessie was making different calls, you know, to people and all of that. I would chip in for like a second, I would go back to sleep, like the whole day. I was so drugged up, literally. And it helped also with not feeling pain down there for like 24 hours or so. And you guys, that's basically my birth story. That was how it happened. Micah was in the NICU for about 36 hours. He was brought back to my room the following day around between 4 and 5 p.m. Saturday. I gave birth Friday morning. He was out of the NICU by Saturday evening. We left the hospital on Sunday afternoon-ish. Guys, basically that is my birth story. The most unbelievable, the most undescribable, the most unexpected birth story. Like I said before, guys, that's exactly how God had orchestrated it. That's exactly how God had planned it. That is exactly how it was going to be, regardless. And looking back now, you know, I've already heard people say over time that induced labors are usually faster and a lot more painful. And that's what happened to me, you guys. It was fast, give or take, from when my first contraction began at 3:30 a.m. to when I gave birth at 10:40 a.m. I labored for about 6 hours. That was fast compared to Mia Rose 22 whole hours. Okay, that was fast, but the pain was times 3 of what I went through with Mia Rose. I'm just so grateful to God. Baby is doing well. Mommy is doing well. I'm healing well. I'm recovering well. I'm doing my sitz baths and all of that. You guys will see that in the vlogs. I'm gonna have the vlogs from when we left the hospital, when Mia met her brother for the first time and all of that. Those ones are still gonna come after this video, so stay tuned. This process called childbirth is something that nobody can ever really prepare you for. It is a lot. Okay, it is a whole lot. Nobody ever can really prepare you for childbirth, even when you have gone through it before. I felt like I knew what to expect, but with this one, it's like you ain't saying nothing. Okay, I'm just grateful for the miracle of bringing a child into this world. It's a reminder that women, it doesn't matter how you bring your child into the world, whether it's vaginally, whether it's through CS, whether it's induced labor, natural labor, what the elective CS, emergency CS, whatever it is, we are all strong. Like the procedure, the process of birthing a child in itself is a miracle. Each time a woman goes through this, you are literally playing with that line between life and death. It's a life and death situation. Legit, it is. And the fact that we can go through that and come out hale and hearty, recovering well, baby is doing well, is a miracle in its own. And I'm just so thankful. I'm so grateful. Anything could have happened. It could have gone south. My son could have decided to come out in the toilet when I went to ease myself. He would have decided to come out when my legs gave way coming out of that bathroom. He would have decided to come out in another way that nobody would have been able to tell the story or something. But it just happened exactly the way it happened, so that I can come here and tell you guys this story that I'm telling you right now. Okay, so anywho, that is basically it for this video, guys. In a nutshell, my mom delivered my son, and I'm grateful because I don't know what I would have done without my mother if she wasn't there with me. That's the way God wanted it to be. I feel like if Jesse was there, he would have been panicking a lot. I feel like with everything that was happening, my mom did panic, but at the same time, she was trying to be strong for me. And at the same time, she was just being a mother, like putting her hands and just collecting my son immediately, without gloves, without anything, not prepared for it. But she swung into midwife action immediately. Somebody who has never delivered a child in her life. But yeah, I'm just so grateful for that woman. She has been by my side. She has been my rock. Jessie has also been amazing. Oh, before I go, I'm sure you guys will want to see Micah. Micah is about 2 weeks and a few days. I think we're about 2 weeks and 4 days old today. So let me see if he's ready to be in this video so you guys can see what he looks like right now. There we go. He was actually asleep. I literally had to carry him out of his bassinet. This is what my Micah is looking like. Ooh, this is what Micah is looking like at 2 weeks and a couple of days old. You guys can see. But hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you enjoyed watching, let me know in the comments section down below. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to thumbs up. Don't forget to share this video because I feel like somebody might need to hear the story. Okay, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Mwah. Bye.